up to the boys. Fox and Shane, set your minds free, no locks and chains. Do what you love, roll the dice. 50-50, we cold as ice. One thing cold, but the penny turn red. Can't let that go in my head, Wargaming.
Homie.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Hobby Homies. We are your weekly tabletop podcast. I'm Shane, hanging out with Fox.
That's who he hangs out with every week.
Every week. And Churchy.
And Churchy as well.
I went back to the old intro because last week didn't go down too well, apparently.
Yeah, well, whenever you deviate your septum, you deviate from your rectum. That's what they say.
I've heard that.
That's a saying.
Yep.
So don't deviate.
Okay, I
That's
won't.
the moral of
I'll
that.
stick to the script.
I think that's what, yeah, exactly. Like, have fun with it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, be dynamic,
Yeah,
but
stick to the
script, yeah.
Of course.
And, do your own thing. Be you.
Yeah.
But, obviously,
You can't stress it enough.
stick to the script. Yeah, of course.
Of course. Today we're talking about our top 3 ever favourite war games.
You used ever in the wrong spot like I did last week. I feel like that's a clever throwback.
Top ever 3.
You were like our top 3 ever tabletop war game. I feel like that would have been better at the end. But I mean, grammatically, who knows? Because I'm a smooth brain. You could have been correct.
I'm not a thesaurus.
But yes, what? We're not talking about dinosaurs, dude. We're talking about tabletop wargaming.
That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for.
That's what they're here for.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So, our top 3, which means not collectively, we're 2 different people.
We are, believe it or not, we are separate individuals.
And we have our own thoughts and ideas that are independent from one another.
And bodies.
Sometimes. So I want to know, what are your top 3 games? That's an image only the Patreons get to enjoy for as little as $2 a month. Link in the description. You'll be pleasantly disappointed. So, how have you organized your top 3 games? I want to know, are you revealing these in do you have an order?
Yeah, I do. I was going to go 3, 2, 1.
Interesting, because I'm going 1, 2, 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're leading with your most favorite war game.
Only because I feel like my games are quite predictable.
Yeah.
Except number 3, I don't think anyone would guess.
Oh, okay.
So I feel
number
like
3
that's
will
more
shock you.
interesting. Yeah. So stick around for that. You know what? We're not so bad at this. Stay till the end of the episode. I don't know if camera
you
streams
are
anymore.
sticking to the script.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
It's on the dartboard.
No, that's last week's episode.
So, I want to hear about your game first.
Sure.
But I'm going to explain before you do.
Am I changing mine up, or what are we doing
No,
here?
no,
Because
I
this is
like
going to
yours.
confuse everybody.
Is it?
Yeah.
I like you going 1, 2, 3, me going 3, 2, 1. But
No, you just flipped it again.
see, even I'm confused.
We've lost everyone. They've all clicked off.
No, I'll go 3, 2, 1 as well. That makes the most sense.
Yeah.
That's the most exciting.
Yeah, you got to lead them in, and then the big reveal at the end. Have you never watched anything?
I've literally never watched anything. No,
I
you're
can
correct.
tell. I can tell.
Okay, so enough deliberating and masturbating. Let's get into it.
All right, my number 3
Yeah.
is probably unexpected. I feel like.
Okay, cool. More deliberation.
I feel like that it would. I feel like those that know me would not think this game would rank so high.
Can I guess?
Go for it.
I'm gonna guess. How much of a wild card is it?
I don't know.
Okay. How much have you played this game in the last 6 months?
Never.
I'm gonna guess 1 billion suns.
You'd be so fucking wrong. Dude.
Okay, should tell me.
Warhammer 40k.
Yeah, that is
7th edition.
Yeah, okay, you got me. You got me.
Yeah, and that's because if it wasn't for that game, we wouldn't be here.
Okay,
Right?
so this is a sentimental.
It is
Yeah.
absolutely. Haven't played it since 8th came out.
Yeah, it makes
Right?
sense actually. If
You know.
you think about it.
But that game was my introduction to the hobby, and without that game, wouldn't have met all the people in the Discord and all that soppy stuff.
Yeah.
It's
an important game for you. Sorry, I just moved my microphone here.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I was going to chalk it up as like an honorable mention, but I was like, nah, you know what? 40k 7th edition. It's probably the game I've played the most.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you think about how many games you and I played,
Yeah.
incorrectly, but we still play games.
Of course. Yeah.
It was like twice a week at some points. Obviously, back then you didn't have children.
It was pre-kids.
Yeah.
It was pre-kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't working stupid shifts and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And we had more time.
Yeah. And you
And-
lived in the same realm.
Yeah.
Which you're back living in the same realm
Yeah,
now.
in the same realm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, without that game, man, I wouldn't. I'd probably have paid off my mortgage by now, but I will.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, definitely. You would have owned a house way sooner. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's great. That's a good pick because it was an iconic game, and still everything that you don't like about Warhammer now,
Yeah.
Seventh kind of has.
Yeah.
Like it has what you liked about Warhammer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gameplay, it drew you in.
Yeah.
At that time, you were also too naive to Games Workshop as a conglomerate and
So bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a good time. It was the golden era.
Yeah.
For us.
It really was. And like, I just think back to like just being like having paint nights at like in my kitchen table.
Yeah.
Churchy there with his with his Skitari in a plastic bag. Just like, oh, why do my Rustalker's swords break off? Like dumping them
Why
on
do my
the table.
stuff? Why do these things always break?
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? It's such a different era too because there was plastic bags.
Yeah, they weren't right.
Yeah.
They weren't illegal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Probably had plastic straws in that bag too, mitigating some of the shock absorbing plastic straws.
That's right. Yeah. So just thinking about the nights like that and like the games that we played with like aquarium rocks and like just random terrain.
Yeah.
Playing Kill Team with you.
Yeah.
That's one of the first times I met you too.
Probably. Yeah, it would have been.
Yep.
That was it had to have been because that was pre-podcast.
Yeah.
And I believe when Shane was like, "Oh, we should do a podcast," I got a friend Churchy. Oh, you know Churchy? Remember he got the guitar in the bag? Oh yeah.
Like that guy.
I don't know if I want him to. What if he rocks up with his podcast equipment in a plastic bag?
Yeah. Here's the microphone.
Dumps him out of the plastic bag all over the desk.
Yeah.
Microphones falling on the ground. I like that pick, man. That's a great pick.
Yeah. Like the game itself wasn't probably much to write home about. Like the rules were interesting.
Yeah.
Our interpretation of them was probably even more so interesting.
Yeah, it would have been, definitely. And I think it's such a great game to jump into because when you first jump into Warhammer, which is inevitably a lot of people's first
Oh, of course.
go,
Yeah.
you think it's the only game.
Yeah.
And so when you think through that lens and you're like, this is the only thing I get to play,
Yeah.
you're like, well, thank goodness because there's so many cool, like it's so deep.
Yeah.
So it's gonna, like I could play this game 1,000 times and it would be different every time and I could buy new models and change up my army and do all that cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's an all-encompassing sync, which is exactly what you want when you're jumping into something. You want to know, A, is this going to be around for a long time? B, can I play it 100 times?
Yeah.
C, am I going to enjoy all of that? And when you first jump into Warhammer, it ticks all those boxes. You're like, probably the game that's been around since 1987 is going to be around for a while.
Yeah. In 2016 or 2015, whenever it was.
Yeah.
It's going to still be kicking.
Can I
Yeah.
play it 100 times? Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. There's so many different troops I could buy and paint. And
Hey, I played my Necrons against 100 different armies of yours.
yeah, I don't have any of them. I sold them all. But yeah, you're right. So you
How
can
did
do
it feel to play against Necrons every single time?
Yeah, well, I've got Necrons now, so now it's your turn.
True.
So I love it, dude.
Yeah, that's my top. That's my number 3.
Well, I'm glad you asked about my number 3 because
What
it
is
is. Oh wait, no, I memorized this to the script and I don't have it in the order that you wanted it.
Well,
However, I will say all of my games sort of follow a similar, like a similar idea.
sure.
When I see a game, it's got to win me on its aesthetics and
Yep.
how it looks and how pretty it is.
Yep.
Then that has to like match up with the game. The gameplay then has to also be engaging and fun,
Yep.
obviously. And then after that, it has to be quite deep because I want to make sure, like we just talked about, I want to be able to play this game a lot of times.
Yep. Yep.
Sometimes I'll see a very pretty game
Mm-hmm.
and the gameplay will be okay. and the game itself won't be very deep.
Yeah.
That's still a good game.
Yeah.
It's just not my top 3.
Of course.
It's a great rotational game. I'm thinking about Test of Honor in my head.
Something you can play like once a year.
Beautiful looking game, incredible theme.
Yeah.
Sengoku, feudal Japan, warring clans,
Yeah.
amazing. Gameplay, fine, nothing to write home about, but fine. Depth, non-existent, unapparent.
Surface level.
Surface level, which is
Yeah.
exactly what you want. Like that's
Yeah,
a rotational
yeah.
game.
Yeah.
You pick it up. If
Yeah.
it had depth, you'd be flicking through a rule book for half an hour.
Yeah.
Whereas you can now flick through for 10 minutes and
Yeah.
get it on the table.
But you could play it for like a weekend and then you put it on the back burner again for a while.
Or you could be like, hey, this month, let's just have a little mini campaign
Yeah.
where once a week we just play Test of Honor for a month, but you won't want to go much beyond that.
Yeah.
Those type of games are great
Yeah.
and have their place, but it's not going to make my top 3, you know? So
All right,
number
stop-
3 will
stop
shock
teasing
you.
us with the tip. Give us number 3.
Number 3 is Infinity by
Oh, yeah.
Corvus Belli.
Yep.
Aesthetically, actually, this is a bit of an anomaly because although I just spoke about my golden rule, this was the least inspiring aesthetically.
Sure.
It's quite sci-fi generic.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, there's a million different war games that aren't 40k. This is just like these things all look sci-fi.
Yeah.
It wasn't really until like I learned the lore about them that aesthetic got more interesting.
Yeah.
So it's like, and it kind of plays through, like so I collect the Hack Islam, and so you read the lore, and the lore is really cool, and then you tie that in with the miniatures just looking, although generic,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They look awesome.
Yeah.
They're just quite generic sci-fi.
Yeah.
So when I found this game through an old store in Geelong, it's not open anymore, and I went for a demo game, played it, and I was like, holy crap, this game's incredible.
Yeah.
Because I'd played other games that weren't 40k at the time, and they were all good. But when I played this, I was like, this just feels way more nuanced tactically than any other game I'd played.
Yeah.
I was like, this is one of those games where, kind of like we spoke about many weeks ago with Necromunda, it's one of those all-encompassing games.
Yeah.
Where if this was the only game you ever played,
Yeah.
you would be fine.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But also it kind of has to be.
Yeah. You haven't got time to play other systems or
Yeah.
other systems with enough depth.
If you want to play this game that has
Yeah.
this level of depth well,
Yeah.
you need to play it very frequently.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I loved about it was like, it was also really unique.
Mm-hmm.
So like it uses D20s,
Yep.
which is something I hadn't experienced
Straight
at the
away
time.
different. Yeah.
Straight away
Yep.
different.
Yep.
But D20s because you...
What is this?
Why does it have so many... How many sides
But
is
it's
this?
basically round. How does it?
Yeah, how
stop
does it
rolling?
even like settle on a number? It's a
Yeah.
golf ball.
Yeah.
Do I tee off with this? But also, like, you don't just roll and hit someone. You actually roll off against your opponent.
Yeah.
But not like roll off and see who gets the highest numbers.
Yeah.
Roll off and see who gets the lowest number closest to their whatever stat.
Yeah.
So like, say I forget what the stat's called because I haven't played it in a decade. Feels like. Say your stat, like you're trying to hit on 9s.
Yeah.
You're trying to roll as close to 9, but over 9 as you can.
Yeah, yeah, but not 9, right?
No,
Oh,
9's a crit. Yeah.
That's right. That's
So
right.
so my number could be 10, yours could be 9.
Yeah.
Because our stats are similar. I could roll an 11, a 12, and a 14.
Yeah.
And you could roll a 9.
Yeah.
Just a single 9 as the defender. You win.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you probably killed me. And so it's kind of cool because you got to think about that when you get the jump on someone and shoot them.
Yeah.
If you're unlucky, they could murk you, which is super fun to be the person that gets shot at
Yeah, yeah,
and turn around and they shoot you back and somehow win.
yeah.
Now, on offense, it's great because you have what's called like a burst attack. So it's better. You get to roll usually like 3 dice. Your opponent rolls 1.
Sure.
But it feels so good to be the opponent and just be like, oh, sorry, did you shoot me? Because it looks like you're dead.
It was like, I just shot you. Yeah.
It's great because you can prone and crawl on your belly and stay out of cover.
Yeah.
It's got like a cool Overwatch mechanic. So you're always, as the defender, interacting with your opponent's turn. So I could move my thing, but if at any point in my move, one of your things can see me, it gets to shoot at me.
Yeah.
And if you have multiple things that shoot me, they can all shoot me. It's just really cool. There's like things that paratroop in.
Yeah.
There's grenades you can throw.
Yeah.
It's just got everything you would want from a skirmish game too. That's the coolest thing about it is it's like low model count. And the models themselves look great. They're fun to paint. Corvus Belli are just getting better and better with their sculpts, and even have hit out a couple plastic models. So I love it. And it's, although it doesn't rank as high as the games I'll talk about later on an individual level, if someone was like, hey, you can only play one game for the rest of your life,
Wow.
and
You're calling Infinity that game.
and also there's a local vibrant scene for it,
Okay.
then yeah, it's just Infinity.
Fat asterisk there, but
Yeah, it's a big
Fair.
fat asterisk.
fair call.
But if you
Yeah.
take my top 3, which we'll learn about later,
Yep.
and you say for these games you only get to play one and that game has a strong local scene,
Yeah.
I'm picking Infinity.
Nice.
So many different factions. The factions all play quite unique,
Yeah.
but you're not locked in. Like just because you play Hack Islam doesn't mean you don't have an Alpha Strike or
Yeah.
It's just good game, beautiful models, and it's my number 3
Nice, dude.
of all time.
Nice, dude. Nice. Well,
Anything else that I didn't talk about in different factions?
well
yeah.
my number 2.
Yeah. I don't believe I asked you. What's number 2?
My number 2. So it is 5 parsecs from home.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I feel like it's the RPG element coming into the tabletop war game that really grabbed me, right? Like never having played RPGs before getting into this hobby, always knowing of it, but never knowing what it actually truly was.
Yeah.
To have, and then playing Warhammer, and then slowly getting into parsecs. It just like added that, just those elements and the story, the mental game of coming up with a story behind the battle you're doing, and individual models and their backstory and stuff like that. That just it was awesome. It was so much fun.
It's so cool too because I think about I see all the models on my like shelves.
Yeah.
And I don't see them as the models that they are.
No, that's Captain Fox.
Yeah, that's Captain Zaven Fox,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
old
Imba.
mate. That's Imba Fox, and they're all Infinity models.
Yeah.
But that's like the scavenger that I used in Parsecs, and
Yeah.
because it allows you to tell a really cool story with your miniatures.
Yeah.
When you paint them up, you instead of just being like a dude in a squad of 10
Yeah. Just a no-name figure.
that just gets blown off the table in a
Yep.
couple turns.
Yep.
This lets you give that model a character.
Yeah. And I feel like the stories that we told through our battle reports and our multiple playthroughs and campaigns are things that I think I'll remember in this hobby forever. Like, just, having like characters that just like when Darwin jumped off a roof and died.
Broke his legs. Yeah.
And
He was like, I have to go for it.
Yeah.
Aim for the
Aim
bushes.
for the bushes. And
Yeah.
it just splats on the concrete.
Yeah.
Like just like stuff like that.
That was so Darwin too.
Yeah.
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 And that time where like you had this bot that had like the laser blaster.
Yeah.
And it murked a couple people, but the one time it got shot,
Yeah.
it was a casualty in that same game.
Obliterated.
Obliterated.
Couldn't even repair him.
Nah, it's
Yeah.
gone. It was gone from the game.
Yeah, I was so devastated because I just painted that model too.
Yeah.
That was the first game he played. Did so well. I think it was the first mission of the
Yeah,
campaign.
yeah. And I was like, that guy's going to be a monster for
Yeah.
the rest of our games. And then you roll that dice and you're like, what's that? And I'm like, it says obliterated. Destroyed, utterly destroyed, no chance of repairing, gone from the game.
Yeah,
Just put a hammer to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got a box. I've got a little Daiso storage display cabinet with all my crew, and I got a box of all the adversaries that I painted up. It was
Yeah, nice.
5 parsecs was such a driving force to get some hobby done.
Yeah.
And as far as like the mini warm-up challenge that was going at the time, I got 50 models painted that month, and like I think they were all parsecs enemies.
Yeah, perfect.
Or a couple of extra crew as well, and it brought everything together from this hobby. It brought like the community side of things, like our campaign that Ollie ran for us, and the battle reports that you and I did, and the hobby side of things too. So it was, definitely like one of those games that just will always always be there, and like will always be one of those things that I like look back at like for other campaign games, and it's like how Parsecs did it.
Yeah,
You know.
that's right. You're right. It's the standard
Yeah.
for campaign sci-fi games.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
In fact, it has like
You okay? You all right?
getting emotional thinking about
can tell.
Parsecs. We have there's a 5 Parsecs multiplayer episode that we did ages ago. And I think it was just talking about the multiplayer campaign, but
Sure.
for some reason it has 20 times more listens than any episode we've ever done.
Oh, it's because
to
everyone's gone like, oh, there's been an update for multiplayer.
Yeah, and
they're
they
like,
listen.
Oh,
We
hang on."
disappointed so many people with that episode.
Thousands.
Thousands. Worse, people that listen to it now
Yeah.
and go, "Oh, that's garbage. That it's not what I thought it was."
Yeah.
But that's cool. They're running a multiplayer thing. Let's jump in the Discord, and they're like, "How do we get in that?" We're like, "Oh, we're not doing that right now."
Sorry, it ended. It's like a year
Yeah,
ago.
like a year ago. They're like, "Oh, okay, cool." Leaves the server. Okay then.
Yeah.
Yeah, Parsecs. I almost put it on my list,
Yep.
but I definitely could have seen it coming for your list.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And number 2, there you
Yeah.
go. Interesting.
Give us your number 2.
My number 2 was difficult. I had a lock for a few games,
Yeah.
which is interesting because people are like, well, if it's a lock for a few games, wouldn't one of those games have been number 3? But I felt like Infinity was kind of a little bit of a spot of its own.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like this game I've almost never played
Yeah.
and almost never will play,
Yeah.
but I love the idea of it so much more.
Your number 3 is kind of like my number 3, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's almost like an honourable mention, but
Yeah,
it deserves just that little bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can't. I wouldn't take it out for any of the other games
No.
that I would think about when I'm talking about number 2. But for
Yeah.
number 2, I was like, Test of Honor was really important for us, and I love the theme and the aesthetic. But
Yeah.
you know, this is my top game of the top 3 of all time
Ever.
I was like, Necropolis was insanely fun when we played it.
Yep.
But it's like also if it was it is so fun, and I would want to play it. And it's one of those games where I could be a Necropolis nerd.
Yep.
And just do that.
Yep.
It's definitely one of those games.
Yeah.
Star Wars Legion
Yep.
was another where I was like, I don't play it a ton, but so I had all these games where I was like, this could be a number 2,
Yep.
but I ended up landing on Fjord Serpents
Oh, nice.
because it nailed all the things.
Yep.
So when we first saw it walking around at CanCon,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, PAX? No, CanCon.
CanCon. He was at PAX though. He
was at PAX.
We must have just walked right past him. I'm sure of it.
Well, I think when we walked past, originally at CanCon, you sort of like nudged me and said, check this out, I saw this at PAX.
Oh yeah. Probably.
So you must have seen the game.
Sure.
And I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. And it was these beautiful like Viking longships with like
Yeah.
little 10mm crew in there.
Yeah.
And I was like, that looks really cool. And so we walked around again. And then every time we were in that section, which was just opposite Medbury Miniatures, so we were there a ton because Medbury Miniatures has incredible looking
Couldn't leave that
miniature.
joint.
Nah, we
Yeah.
were just like, look at them. Let's look. Would you just look at it? Yeah. And then opposite it was like, so then we'd leave Medbury Miniatures and we couldn't not look at the beautiful Viking game.
Yeah,
It was Fjord Serpents.
Yep.
And we kept looping back and I was like, I just want to look at it again.
Yeah.
And so many times aesthetically, I just wanted to see it.
Every time that table was full. Every time.
Yeah.
Except for that last day, which we weren't even going to go on the last day.
No, we weren't. But I remember Moose, the voice echoes through my mind where it's like, oh, if you keep coming back to it, maybe it's worth buying. And MJ was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you've convinced us. But anyway, so yeah, like you said, we weren't even going to go back to CanCon on the last day we were there.
Yeah.
But we were like, let's just go do a demo.
Yeah.
So we went to CanCon specifically to do that demo.
And he was free.
And it was free
Yeah.
because we were the first ones in there
Yeah.
on the Sunday.
Yeah.
A dreary-eyed Luke
I
Payne.
think he was still nursing his coffee.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're like, we'd like to play this game. He's like, well, okay. So we played this game with the creator of the game,
Yeah.
which wasn't apparent to us at the time. And I was like, all right, it's a beautiful game, but is it fun? Like the theme is cool. It's Viking longships fighting each other. But when we played, I was so relieved that it wasn't just like ships awkwardly sailing and kind of like crashing into each other.
Yep.
And then my ship's next to your ship, so I roll this many dice. You as the defender rolls this many dice.
Yep.
And then that ship takes that many wounds. And once it takes that many wounds, it's gone.
Yeah.
When we were like sailing around, and it's like we had to take into account the wind,
Yep.
and then we had to actually grapple the ships. And when we grappled the ships together to board them, we became a flotilla.
Yep.
And the flotilla was still subject to the wind.
Yeah.
So you had to make sure that that flotilla of our two fighting
rocks.
ships didn't hit the scary rocks.
Yeah.
And then before that, we're taking pot shots with bows and javelins,
Yeah.
trying to pepper things. And then your bows or javelins, I forget which missile it was, but
Bows, I think.
basically
Yeah,
just slayed all the important
Oh,
things on the enemy
didn't
ship.
they? That was so good.
Slayed.
Yeah.
Absolutely slayed. And then
Yeah.
we rolled up, and then Luke's berserkers charged over you fight with like the front
Yeah.
crew of your ship. So he had the berserkers, and we had just some leadang, I think. And then we had to make choices about which units would support the front unit. We couldn't do it with the ones that had grappled. And then when we killed some stuff, we could move our crew onto his ship and take over that ship.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is so much more than I expected.
Right. Yeah.
And we just played a demo game,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? And so I was like, all right, so the gameplay is fun, but what about the depth? And then I looked, and he was explaining the ways you could, like, there's so much choice in your fleet composition.
Yep.
But also within your fleet and the ships you choose, there's so many choice with your unit composition.
Yeah, like the layout of your troops on your ship.
Exactly.
You're not going to put the archers at the front. That's just silly.
That's just silly.
Yeah.
Unless you had full archers,
Yeah,
in which case
yeah.
that's interesting. And so it's really cool because you can play it, you know, he was talking about he wants to make it as competitive as, say, a kill team type game where your points are nuanced and you can really, it's really granular and you can really do what you want to do. Or also you can just pay your points for your ships and that comes with its crew by default and you just play like that.
Yeah.
So, but there's also a campaign and story system. So I was like, this is just everything you want when you see a game.
Yeah.
Everything that I hope this game would be, it just delivered on. And, you know, we haven't played it outside that demo game and some other, and I've just read the rules. But we've been working with Luke and we're trying to get battle reports and stuff ready for that.
Yeah. Hopefully that'll be in the not too distant future.
Exactly. And the Kickstarter, every day is getting closer, even though it's an uphill battle for a small creator to actually get your stuff. So, yeah, it was just really cool. And I was like, perfect. It's everything I sort of wanted from, I guess, Test of Honor. Where, although now I appreciate that for the rotational game that it is.
Yeah.
If you want to go all in, this is sort of like Infinity, where it's just got that depth that if you wanted this to be your only thing, it probably could.
Yeah.
So, although a lot of it remains to be seen, Fjord Serpents is my number 2.
Nice.
So, now I'm on the edge of my seat. And I want to hear, although I could probably guess, I want to hear about your number 1.
Number 1 had a few contenders. One Page Rules was definitely up there. That was sort of pushing for number 2 as well.
Yeah.
Thought it would have been a good sort of contrast to 7th edition 40k.
Mm-hmm.
But I ended up settling on Sludge.
I know. Our ones might be predictable.
It's the game I've played probably the least of.
Yeah.
I've played once with you.
Yep.
And twice on Tabletop Simulator with Vumu.
Yep.
And it just grabs everything from this hobby that I love.
Yeah.
The gameplay is awesome. It's very streamlined where it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
It has archaic rules that are like no pre-measuring,
Yeah.
guess ranges for the cannons, which I just love that
Yeah,
shit.
I love that too. That's cool.
Yeah. It has the historical miniatures that you can mash up and blend up into almost a fantasy-esque. So there's the kit bashing, there's the painting as well there, and multi-basing, which was so new to me. So even though it's 3 dudes to a base, it's still multi-basing, right? But yeah, just the world, the lore, the gameplay, the aesthetic of it. I was so drawn in as soon as like Vuma was like, hey, do you want to try this game? It's called Sludge. I'm like, Sludge?
Sludge. Sounds muddy.
Yeah.
What's the thing it has where it's like horror? It's like
Gore.
Gore.
Yeah.
That's right.
So gore, a mechanic that represents the horrors of war. You
Yeah.
know, the seeing someone get next to you blown to bits. Like, even though those bits aren't there anymore,
Yeah.
it's still like
It's still in here.
It's in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
how the gore and the shock of the gore around you mounts up and has an
Yep.
impact on your units. It's
Yep.
so cool.
Affects morale, and then you've got like clerics and stuff that are trying to like, you know, they might do a prayer or something like that to try and boost morale.
I
and
love the
pass
idea of someone that's just seen some shit and a cleric just saying a prayer and you're like, it's not working.
The Lord
it's not
be
working.
with you."
It's not working. It's not working. I still see his eyes.
Yeah, yeah. And then like it's not fantasy, but it's like a little bit of magic. I guess it's called like maybe like low fantasy, right?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of magic there as well that are like your sorcerer, instead of, you know, summoning a demon or casting a shadow bolt, it's like, I'm just going to give that guy some really fucked up visions. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to make him witness his mate dying again and again
Yeah,
and
yeah,
again
yeah.
and again.
Yeah.
You know, so like there's, so
Dark
just,
magic, low fantasy.
Yeah, yeah.
Napoleonics
Psychological.
meets. Yeah.
Yeah. Napoleonic meets fantasy, and yeah, man, that's probably my game that would be my Infinity. Like,
Yeah,
for you,
I was
right?
going to say, I don't feel like it takes you a ton of plays to know that a game is your game.
Yeah.
You know, to know that you'll love this. And
Yeah.
maybe opportunity has meant you can't play it every single week.
Yeah.
But you still know. That's like Necropolis as well. When I was
Yeah.
like, I played that and I was like, this would totally be my game
Yeah.
if we had miniatures for it,
Yeah.
painted scenery,
Dude,
and
we just need to move to Adelaide because Ollie and Brain Group have played it a few times,
yeah,
and I'm sure we could pick up games with them anytime we wanted to.
done. I'll move just for that. But yeah, and like Infinity, where I've only played it like twice or three times,
Yeah.
poorly,
Yeah.
as a newbie. But when you know, you know.
Yeah.
You know?
When you know, you know.
When you know, you know, you know?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
What is love? Baby,
Sludge.
don't hurt me.
That's fun for me. Sludge.
It's sludge.
I got three armies,
Yeah.
and I did that in the space of like a month.
I feel
Something
like
stupid.
all sludge players have 3 armies.
Probably.
One for
Probably.
them, one
Yeah.
for them, and just in case they have a friend come over,
Yeah.
then there's still one for them that their friend can use.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want just one for me, one for them.
Yeah.
Because, like, what if I want to play something else
That's
next
right.
time?
Yeah.
I
Options.
need the third one. Yeah.
Options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a testament to the game, I think, that everyone that plays Sludge has 3 Sludge armies.
Yep.
And has never played Sludge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good pick.
Yeah. Thanks, dude.
I'll
Give
give
us
you
yours.
no money if you can guess my number 1, because it is... You don't know my number 1 yet?
Just one.
Shadow Point.
There you go. Star Wars Shatterpoint, the greatest
Oh,
game that
yeah.
ever is
I
and
just
will.
forgot that existed for a second.
Yeah, well, you're an idiot. So Shatterpoint also ticked all the boxes, but
Yep.
to a scale of which I've never seen.
Yeah.
It was obviously Star Wars, so the theme is on point. Same reason I got into Star Wars Legion.
Yeah.
The aesthetic of it, when they upped the scale, that allowed them to make these incredible miniatures.
Oh, the detail without just stacking detail on is awesome.
Insane. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. I feel like they do as good a job as anyone, even Games Workshop.
Yep.
Obviously, they haven't put 20 purity seals or belt pouches on them because they're actual characters.
I don't need it.
They don't need it.
Don't need leather ammo pouches.
Yeah, in a war, in the grim dark future. So it won me on that alone, but it also
Yep.
won me going like, originally when I saw the game, I was like, well, I don't want to go, like I just went hard on Legion and I
Yeah.
never play that.
But you went hard on Shadow Point straight away.
I bought the core box and then a couple other boxes, but what I loved about it is I didn't have to go hard. I didn't have to. That
Yeah.
was just an option that I chose to do.
Yeah.
Because you only need 2 boxes of this thing to play the game.
Yeah.
2 squads. Each box is a squad. So I was like, oh, I can paint 8 miniatures,
Yeah.
especially when they're cool Star Wars ones.
Mm.
We played a game before it was even released. I had
We did.
inkling.
Proxies.
We proxied it.
Yep.
We used Star Wars Legion proxies with
Yeah.
printed out leaks from cards.
They were like photos taken on like poor angles. So
Yeah, yeah.
the
Some of
perspective
them
was all
looked
messed
funky.
up. Like, I can't read what that says.
But I remember I read the rules a few times over, and I looked at the cards, and I was like, I need to play this game. I think this game is actually awesome.
Yeah. It's
And
like
so-
everything I'm looking for in a game.
Yeah, I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is actually insane. I love the look of this, but let's play it. So we did a demo. Then the game came out. I bought the game, painted up the core box and the terrain. Went to a demo, or sort of like a beginners tournament at Guff Werribee. Played that, and by the time I'd finished that, I was sold.
Yeah.
I was hook, line, and sphincter. I was just ready to go.
Yeah.
I loved how unique it was across the board. So it uses like cards that have, we got videos on that.
Episodes.
Episodes. Yeah, I probably could do a playlist by now.
Yeah. Yep.
But I just liked you play with such limited troops that sometimes that can be quite linear, because it's like, I've only got 8 things. You know, think about a game like, say, Parsecs. When you've only got your crew, they can only do so many things against the enemies. Whereas this just feels like all the combos are so dynamic, and it's like, on this game, it makes sense to use this person's ability with this person to do this. But in a different game, you'll do something completely different against different opponents, against different missions. It plays completely differently. It also feels like, although everything's in front of you and you got all the rules in front of you, you're always learning different combos, playing the exact same combination of things. So it feels like it's got so much depth where I'm like, I could play the exact same squad against the exact same squad.
Yeah, and be a whole different game.
For 10 games in a row and still feel like I'm discovering things, which is awesome, because realistically, you'll play against different opponents and you'll mix in different units and you'll play different missions. So, yeah, I thought it was awesome. The things I quickly loved about it that stood out straight away that are still true now is that your models don't die, really.
Yeah.
So I love that, because these are beautiful models that maybe you spend ages painting.
Oh, so long, right? Nothing is worse than like, I spent 20 hours on this, and it's like, okay, there we go.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't even use it.
Oh, that's good. That took me everything.
Yeah.
And now it's gone.
Yeah.
I wonder what it does. Oh, I guess I'll find out maybe one day.
Maybe next time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if I don't play against you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do love that you always get at least 2 to 3 activations out of all your things before, if they're removed at all.
Yeah.
I love that it's alternating activations,
Oh, king. Yeah.
but it's random.
Yeah.
So you pull off the deck of cards and it's like, oh, this is what you're activating. But you can mitigate that
Yeah.
if you spend a force point.
Yeah.
But then it's like, oh, do I want to do that? Because that force point is something I can get back, but I might need it now.
Yeah.
Because that's your main resource.
Yep.
And so it just feels like everything you do in the game, it's like, oh yeah, your leaders can refresh force, but also how hard do I want to commit to that condition over doing this other thing with that leader? And it just feels like every single thing you do in that game has tension.
Yeah.
It's like if you're choosing to do something, it's costing you something, either a direct resource. I also love that it's got a unique combat tree where it's like this many hits.
Yep.
You still can customize what those hits do.
You can deal damage, or you can stack effects.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I love that it's not so linear where it's like you damage things and you kill things.
Yep.
Because that's tabletop games.
Yeah.
Damage it, kill it, you'll win the game eventually.
Yeah.
In this game,
you win the game.
you get the wood, you win the game. Whereas in this game, sometimes the wood's not the best choice.
No.
Sometimes you just want to stack conditions on them, or
Yeah.
push them far off the point, or
Yeah.
movement, positioning, all that kind of stuff is so key. It's so free flowing. I just love it. Everything about it, I love. And yeah, it's my number one. From the first time we played proxies with photos of cards, I just knew. And the only thing I had a problem with was that there was no Jyn Erso, no Cassian Andor, no Rogue One stuff.
Yep.
But that's been announced to come next year.
It's coming.
It's coming,
Just
and
be
so am
patient.
I at the idea of it.
Be patient.
So I'll be patient, and it's a 10 out of 10 for me.
Nice.
I
dude.
love it.
Nice. Churchy guessed it.
He did guess it.
Yeah.
I guess Churchy knows me. At least Churchy knows me.
Yeah. I just forgot that
You
it
must have,
exists.
because I was like, if you knew that it existed,
Right?
you would have guessed it.
Yeah, right.
But you were like, oh, I'm going to test of honor.
As soon as you were listing the number 2 games and you didn't mention that,
Yeah.
you knew what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Churchy's smart.
Yeah. I mean, he is, but that's not required for this exercise. So anyway, that's our top 3 games.
Yeah, that's our top 3 games. That's a good list.
Let us know in the comments or in our Discord, link at hobbyhomies.com.
Yep.
Let us know, what are your top 3 and why?
And what would be your one and only game
If you could only play one.
if you had to pick?
Yeah, I know I said Infinity earlier, but after talking about Shatterpoint, I feel like I want to redact that. Now I just
No
want to play
take
Shatterpoint.
backsies, dude.
All right.
No take
Up until
backsies.
Jin Urso and Cassian are released, it's Infinity.
Sure. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you can, subscribe, like the video, leave a comment, do all that stuff. It helps us immensely. You can join the Discord, like Fox said earlier, link on hobbyhomies.com. There's links there to our Instagram and our Facebook and all the other stuff that we do there.
All of our socials.
And our Patreon too. So for $2 a month, you get early access to videos like this, battle reports, and some other behind-the-scenes stuff that we've sort of started trickling out there. Bit of fun.
We're getting there.
We are getting there. We're adding more value to that where we can. And we couldn't thank you guys enough.
Although, we could, because we're about to.
We can.
Thank you to our patrons. We've got our homies who are contributing every single month, your hard-earned coins, as well as our main homies. Thank you, Walt and Darren M, our newest ones.
And of course, legendaries, MJ Moose, Fatboy Tom, Numa, that's you, real one. The Goats, Burnsy, Final Dinosaur, Gridlock, Hockers, and Journeyman.
We got the OGs, Fishman, Are You a Warrior, Churchy, Rad, Ollie, Pinny, Aggro, Don Hua, Don Pure Blind, Jackson V, Mini Warmer, Oz Wargaming, Analog Line, and Big Roach. It feels like always we're apologizing to someone about leaving them off the list. I blame Discord. No, Patreon. Discord's never let us astray, except maybe the Craig bot. So, IO Warrior, we apologize. We love you.
Thank you
You've been
so much.
a long-time contributor that we haven't given enough props to.
No,
So
no.
these are your props. I'm doing a heart.
It's entirely our fault, but
Oh, wait,
Patreon
how do
is
you do it now?
so hard to use behind the scenes.
How do you do the
You do that.
No, the new one that the kids
I don't
the
watch
kids
TikTok,
do.
dude. Fucking hell.
How do you? I don't know.
Is it like this?
Hearty. This guy. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Woo! Big up to the boys, Fox and Shane. Set your minds free, no locks and chains. Do what you love, roll the dice. 50-50, we cold as ice. One thing